In there, huh?
I am starting the recording. Just make sure my volume's up.
How you doing? Good.
It's up.
Okay,
We are good to go.
okay, call the meeting to order. First thing, before we introduce the other two audience citizens, I'd like to add, or, to our, is it the consent agenda?
Consent agenda.
All right, then let's go to the audience of citizens first, and then we'll
That's
do the addition to the consent agenda. With that, any of you gentlemen would like to speak, introduce your name, address first, and then tell us why you're here.
George is up first. George is in place of Patrick Kelly.
Yeah.
My name is Short Salino, it's the address.
Yes, please say that.
33 Griswold Drive, here on behalf of Berlin Little League. So we are requesting that we be permitted for the 2023 season or year to hang vinyl signs on the fields of Centerelli, Pettit 1 and 2, Beretta, and Dennehy. So they are the 4x6 vinyl signs that are green with the logo of the company, whoever the sponsor is. They're hung on the fences with zip ties. And we've gotten rid of all the wood ones for the past seasons. There's no more wood signs,
Okay.
just have vinyl. And I wasn't sure, Jen, we have all those championship ones that have been hung in place for years. I don't know if that's something we can talk about here as well.
Where are they?
They're
I
on
mean, the
Pettit.
building and
Yeah, like on the building and
those are okay.
Okay, those
Yeah.
are okay. Just the ones that are on the fences facing the field.
just the ones
Just
that.
the ones you need approval
Okay,
for,
yeah,
yep.
so so those are the fields, Beretta, Centerelli, Pettit 1 and 2, and Dennehy.
And so these are the vinyl similar to prior years that you had?
Yes.
Right, same.
Yep. Same size, same sign. So,
Now, the ones that I see on Dennehy,
correct.
like there's like 3 or 4 of them right now.
Yeah.
What are those?
Those are the same sponsorship ones that we've had for previous years there. So on Dennehy, we have the first base side facing in, so they all kind of face in.
Okay, oh, so I don't see.
So
the
you don't,
inside, right,
you'd
right,
see the
right.
back from the street, so everything faces in towards the
So
field.
that's included in this application, because you want to include it.
I don't see Dennehy
Did you-
actually. But that's okay. They can still approve it tonight and
Okay.
you can, I'll have Patrick add Dennehy. and
Okay.
re-email it.
Right, right. So whatever approvals we give tonight would be for all signs, including Dennehy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else. Commissioners, any questions?
There's no intention of taking down the state champions in district.
No, I just wasn't sure, being a new president, if that was something I needed to ask every year to
No,
keep those hung.
Those should never come down.
Right.
No,
and
no,
those-
yeah, no.
Yeah.
We'd like to add more.
As
is
long as
the goal,
I
right?
got them all done, they ain't coming down.
Right.
As long as I'm alive.
Yeah,
Right. And they stay where they are.
correct,
You know,
correct.
we don't want them moved around, so, yeah.
Yeah, no, the championship ones are there. One fell down, we have to put it back up, but we need a ladder.
Including the girls softball.
Yeah, all the ones at Centerelli. And then there was some other signs, again, being new this year. There's one above the pavilion for the sponsor who built it. I'm assuming that's,
That, yeah, I did
Fixed
that.
and we-
I did it.
we don't, I'm assuming,
Don't touch it.
okay, yeah. No, we don't want to. I just want to make sure we don't have to ask. That's just clarification, that's all.
Nope.
No, this is perfect. We just have
Okay.
to add Dennehy.
Okay.
and Update it every year.
Okay, no other questions? All right, thanks, so.
Thank
we'll
you.
act-
Thanks,
You
George. I'll
can
email
sit down
Patrick
or gentlemen call.
Okay. Thank you.
You don't have to stay though, just so you know. Okay. Scott
Okay,
is next,
Scott.
but he's actually gonna let Carlo go because Carlo's super fast.
Thanks, Scott.
Good
Good evening, everybody. Carlo Rosito,
Yeah.
41 Garden Drive. I'm just here to ask for permission to consume alcoholic beverages at a family picnic that we're planning on having on July 23rd. Approximately 35 to 40 people. We requested 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. We did have an event last year. It was no issues. So, yeah, so, and that's pretty much it. Was there any other
No,
information?
Carlo
I
is a
need to-
return user. We've never
Right.
had any issues with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this a family?
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a family, yep, cousins, aunts,
Yeah.
uncles.
And he knows he has to get tulip insurance once alcohol is
Yeah.
drank, so
Yeah.
he's done it before.
So
Did
it's-
last year. We
Yeah.
did last year.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any questions, commissioners? Comments?
No, he's a returning user. He's obviously good, good by his word, so I have no problem.
yeah, we'll keep an eye on everybody. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Carl. We'll be in touch.
This is the one that will be added to the.
Thanks.
Right, right.
Yeah. but
Okay.
it's also-
All right, yeah,
Bye,
take care.
nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you as well.
Thank you, Scott.
All right,
All right.
appreciate it, Scott.
Scott Trevethan, 230 Circlewood Drive, Jim Mazzarella,
Yeah.
362 Lower Lane.
Yes.
Topic tonight's pickleball.
Good,
Big topic,
love it.
big. All right,
Jim, what was your address again?
362 Lower Lane. Executive summary, like we fixed the tennis courts at the high school, we need to have pickleball courts in Berlin. Yes, we do. We are the only town in central Connecticut, I know because I'm actually playing pickleball professionally. We're the only town in central Connecticut. The only town in central Connecticut, and I will restate it, the only town in central Connecticut without any public pickleball courts. It's embarrassing. New Britain has state-of-the-art pickleball courts. Middlefield has state-of-the-art pickleball courts. There are unbelievable pickleball courts in West Hartford. They're putting up their third public park worth of pickleball courts in West Hartford.
You can't get on any of them.
The sport is the fastest growing sport in the world. It's not even close. The amount of interest, just
Yeah, I saw that.
the amount of interest, especially from the beginner level. I'll let Jim give you the story of just a quick little winter thing we put together, is to the point where we are flooding the outer courts in all the other towns. And it's to the point where you're waiting a half hour to play in West Hartford. It will easily triple in the next 5 years. And I think that's a mild assumption. With that being said, it's embarrassing to be at the town of Berlin, not unlike when I stood in front of you guys with the tennis courts and we had unusable courts. Where I'm proposing after a little bit of work is in East Berlin. I grew up on those tennis courts, and I can simply say, as a town resident, and a very fair paying taxpayer, it's an embarrassment. The courts, the pool, the entire setting is an embarrassment. It needs a facelift. Pickleball it's gonna be played by a lot of seniors, which means we can't put it at the high school, we can't put it at the middle school, because most people who wanna play pickleball are gonna wanna play when school's open. We can't put that there. East Berlin's setup is not technically on Hubbard School ground. It has parking, it has lights, especially when you work with individuals like this that are willing to help with it, and family foundations like the Tyler Kopp Foundation, which is extremely willing, and the Ryan Lee Foundation and others, to donate significant amounts of money towards this. My job is to be the agitator, and I'm very hopeful that we can start a dialogue of details of how we can fix this, because what I don't want to have happen is it be 3 years from now and we're still talking about it. Real quick story, I rent courts in Rocky Hill, where I have 16 players come from over an hour away every Monday night to play. Second half of that court I gave to Jim at Christmas time, which had 8 available spots.
Right.
From Christmas till the end of April, give them the story.
Okay, well, I'll start back to November when he got me going. So he's what are you, 5th in New England in your age bracket right now? Okay, now he's even better. That's how good he is. So I'm doing a little work at his house. I see him carrying this stuff out to his car. I'm like, I go, what happened to golf? He goes, I gave it up. I go, what are you doing? He goes, I'm playing pickleball. I said, yeah, I tried that last year. It was a pretty good game. He says, you know what? Come down to East Berlin, me and Shona. Now, Shona, his mixed doubles partner, is what in New England? Second. So last fall, like, was it September, October? Go down there to watch them play. I was astonished. So I walked down on the courts, I played with them for like an hour and a half. I fell in love with the game. I got in my truck. I got on my freaking Amazon. I ordered a net. When that came in 3 days later, I had 6 people down at East Berlin, because East Berlin, they're painted on one
Right,
side.
We
I
granted
had
that
6
one.
people down there, our first time. We played for like 3 hours. That winter, we were playing Sundays. By the end of the winter, by January, February, I had 20 people playing with us from the town. On Sunday mornings,
How did you do it, like with the weather, like?
Indoors and.
indoors in Rocky Hill, Tennis, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
in
Rocky,
Rocky
where he
Hill.
played, where he
Not in
played.
East Berlin.
So I was up,
Even though they are
we're
playing
up,
outside.
we're up to 20, 22 people on Sunday, because on Mondays, I had to split the courts with him, so I only could get 8 people, so we were bringing 10. So, and I have more people that want to play in this town right now. I'm like, because now we're moving outside, I'm like, we gotta find a place to go, but you can't find a place to go. West Hartford, jam packed, you gotta wait a half an hour per game. Glastonbury, Durham, Middlefield,
East
New
Hartford.
Britain, even New Britain, you can't get on the courts.
So how does the, like, say you had a court, how does the scheduling work?
You put a thing out where you put your paddle.
Right.
So if 4 of you are playing, and there's just 1 court, there's usually more than that, but if there's, and then 4 others show, you put your paddle. When your game is done, you're off, the next 4
Right.
come on.
Down in Florida, which,
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, I went down to Naples this winter, I went, where they had the US Open just passed by, 64 courts.
Full, all
It's the
day.
Oh,
biggest
yeah,
in-
no, they are.
Biggest in the United States, you can't go to Florida anywhere.
So it's, so the registration is not like online or anything, it's
No.
just basically go
Well,
there.
there are, I mean, you go down south, yeah, there are public facilities
not
where you have to
I'm
register.
I'm
That's
asking how you
that's
would,
the thing about
Well,
public facilities.
What they do in normal town areas, they have, it's a rack with 1.5-inch pipe on a rack. It's in a big row, they're all colored, and you just, everybody puts their paddle in, and then when 4 take their paddle, 4 move down. So you don't play
yeah, I understand.
with a bunch of people unless the courts are empty and you wanna go,
Thank
right?
And
Or
But
they-
so
So,
down
so
there,
a
you put
resident who's not involved with you guys in your group, just Joe and his dad wanna go down
I
and
mean-
play, and nobody's on the court, they can just go on and
Go on
play,
and play.
you're not gonna come and kick them off or,
no, okay, how does basketball work in Berlin?
right, exactly, that's
It's
what
cool.
I'm.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
First come, first serve.
Right,
Yeah.
which quarter?
Unless someone has
Right.
it reserved. But in this case, you don't reserve the pickleball.
Well,
courts. Normally, they,
If we start, I think if you started it, I would do the paddle thing, and then if people are complaining, oh, can we reserve, down in Florida, they do reservation. It's a little hard, a little bit more
Well,
difficult to
that's
do.
more hard than.
It is, because
it's a
it's
quick
not,
game, it's a
right.
half hour.
Right.
the thing is-
I mean, they have people at a gate, you come in and, you
Yeah,
know,
but that, we're not doing that.
right,
Bro,
right,
so
right.
West Hartford.
But public places do it though, it's like 10 o'clock at night,
West
it's
Hartford
like having
will
a,
start.
like somebody in a pool.
Yeah, full time, West Hartford.
So, do you
Will be
guys,
walk apart.
have any specific, you talked about East Berlin, so,
Well, because the tennis courts are there and they're so horrible and nobody uses them, that why not use that spot? Or, I don't know, how about the left side when you come into Sage Park, that whole left side, I don't know if there's enough land there. You know, you come into Sage
oh,
on the
where the
left,
kickboard is for
yeah,
soccer.
right, that would be a perfect spot. Or we could get rid of soccer and just take up that whole thing.
I think it's gonna be a lot less expensive to resurface a court than it is to build a
Yeah.
brand new one.
But we'd like to go bigger,
A lot.
Well, one of the topics here
I think we
is,
need bigger.
we don't need, and I'm as much of a tennis guy as anybody in this town, we don't need the 2 tennis courts in East Berlin. I can tell you that for a fact. We have plenty of other options available. There is more space in East Berlin than what we're using for the footprint of the 2 tennis courts. You could arguably double that space, go a little closer to the pool, and a little closer to the hill, and you could put what West Hartford has, where you have 6 or 8 courts. And I can almost assure you, once they're found, they will be filled almost year round. I played on Thanksgiving and I played on Christmas Eve in West Hartford when it was less than 32 degrees and I had to wait to play. This is no joke. This is.
No, I
it's
know.
crazy. I walk in GM on a Friday night and I walk in, everybody's like, when are we playing?
This is now Mr. Pickleball. I'm
Oh,
telling you.
yeah, 'cause-
I heard it was that.
I'm the captain of the league.
But where I'm coming from is we have some money, not enough to finance it completely through some of the private foundations. But I really think this needs to be something like we did with the tennis courts where we fix a problem and we fix it with something people will use.
Right.
Because right now, the tennis courts and the public grounds in East Berlin, for somebody that grew up right there, this is an embarrassment. It has to be fixed.
So we have outlined a pickleball court in East Berlin, right? It's one court.
Yeah, you have one tennis court which has two sides.
Which we could get 6 courts on if you took the tennis.
Yeah, I
courts off.
measured, I spent time there 2 weeks ago and I laid it all out. We could fit 6 in that space. But the asphalt and the condition of it's so bad that, like Scott said, if you resurface it, you're lucky they're gonna guarantee it for what?
3 years.
3-5 years.
Do the
that's it.
post-tension concrete like we did with the high school tennis courts, get your 25 years out of it, do it right, do it
Yeah.
once, clean it up.
Couple sets of lights.
So, just speaking out loud here, the town is very frugal with its money, okay? We have to go for state grants, and with Joe Arasimowicz help, we've been able to get some state grants for some of our fields, like what we're gonna do at the high school, inside the track. But, you know, it's one thing to put it on a capital list, but quite frankly, it will stay on that capital list.
Okay.
Unless you push.
Oh, I'm
push,
gonna
push,
push.
push.
Yeah, I'm starting here legally, but
Right, no, and that's great, and we'll get the message to the council, you know, that you came. And you should expect to go to the council, because they're the ones that are gonna decide if there's any funds to be put towards any pickleball courts at any point in time. We recommend and we push, but we're limited, we can't say, that's it, that's what we do.
I understand.
And then the Board of Finance gets involved to say, well, this capital project is gonna be done, we're not gonna do this one. And that's how things work in this town. We just went through community and senior center. Indoor pickleball courts, because year round,
Yeah.
right? You know, I was on the advisory council, very few people came. And now they did a public forum. More people came to that because word got out a little bit. The mayor put on his dog and pony show and, you know, talked about his thoughts about that, and which was possibly a why coming into town. So as far as getting on a capital project, you gotta keep on pushing, and you know, to be fair, I don't see it happening in the near future. I wish it
So what do
would.
you
We
think by
bought
near,
it
what do you think by near?
5
future?
years ago, we talked about
They,
pickleball.
they've cut capital the last 3 years out of the budget.
Really?
This year they cut everything.
They don't, there's no capital
Are
until
we not
after the
getting
year
the
to
turf in
see.
the back of high school?
That is a grant from the
Right
state.
now, but is it
That's from-
happening?
We
Yes.
are, yeah.
It's happening,
I hope
Yes.
so.
because
But that's
Yeah.
Joe, or someone's got to set.
All right, so we
We
gotta
just
go,
got
we
bids
gotta go
back
to Joe.
today for the, we got bids back today for the architect.
Joe's
I
not
know.
power anymore, you have to
You
go to
never
Donna,
know. Well,
you
it's
have to
still-
go
yeah.
to Donna Beach in order to
You
get that.
can't get, yeah, I mean,
well, but with all due respect, I came in front of this council.
Yeah.
When the people that were sitting at this said, there's no way we'll fix the high school tennis courts. And we now have the nicest facility in central Connecticut. So we're
Where
gonna
did that
push,
money come from?
well, we pushed and pushed the right, I'll push the right buttons,
there
but
were some funds that were available through the high school
I don't remember.
project that was used for
Oh,
that.
the high school renovation.
And it was the high school renovation. That's how that got
Yeah,
done.
Scott,
Same with the basketball.
pushed for it.
Yeah.
my point being
And
is,
technically,
So
the
I'm
courts
not-
are
I'm not
on-
believing.
And technically, the courts are on board event.
Okay, can I ask for
projects, so it's
something
Board
for
Event
the,
project.
in the brief future here now?
Yeah,
Is there any way we could get the other 2 tennis courts just painted? Pickleball?
That East Berlin?
Yeah.
we can talk about that, you know, talk about that.
I'll even do it for free.
yeah, I mean, it's,
I'll do
I
it for free.
appreciate that.
I'll just go and do it.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think you trust me, right?
It's, the way the town does capital, they don't spend any monies on capital throughout the year. At the end of the year, June 30th, and they wait for the audit report to be done, even though they know what the money is. And they say, oh, we came up with a $2 million surplus. How are we gonna spend that $2 million? And they have a list. And, you know, the mayor talked even at this recent meeting about, you know, we have all these bridges that have to get fixed, roads have to get fixed, there's, you know, this list. HVAC at the schools, that's $5 million a school at least. So I'm just, because of the way they set up the town finances, that's how they process things right now.
The HVAC system, that was through federal government.
They're gonna try and do the first one through the
Only
ARPA
Willard.
funds.
Oh,
Yeah, just
okay.
the first one.
Oh, they didn't do Willard? I thought they did Willard. They didn't do Willard?
They haven't done any of the elementary schools yet.
What do you estimate the cost to be?
Well, there's two different schools of thought. To do it right's $250,000.
Okay.
To give it enough of a facelift to make it so it's not dangerous is probably 50 to 100. I could raise a good chunk of that just in the foundational work that Jim and I and others do, almost exclusively on our own, but with all due respect, this is a town thing that, not unlike the high, I mean, we donated in the Lee Foundation donated a ton of money to the high school. I don't want to be the donator. I want it to be a joint project, and there's been no money put into East Berlin for so many years that there's a point where I'm gonna make a stake now.
Right, so
How
let
much
me-
water,
let
how
me
much
just-
water, how much
about
money is
East
spent on
Berlin,
water here?
the East Berlin pool.
Yes, I understand.
We
I don't know
need,
if
we
you do.
need a liner,
I understand.
no, 200 grand, right? You know how long that's been sitting on our capital list, right?
Oh, the pool?
They won't do it.
Well,
ADA compliant,
at
won't
least-
do it,
but-
I'm just
but-
telling you.
I understand where you're coming from, but in the business world I come from, I just have to be able to say to the mayor and to others that I will go to directly, that I've gone through the proper steps, because I was told I had to
I
come
did,
here
I did,
first.
yes.
Yeah,
I
no,
did.
I'm
But-
glad you did, and
but-
we'll push for it, but
So, I mean, so since you know the costs and you know that you have opportunities to provide additional funding, that should be part of your, I'm sure it will be spiel, right? And, you know, I have no clue what the mayor is gonna do. And since we're so, you know, tight in town with a dollar or a penny, I would say probably the more you could do, the better. But, you know, go forward and conquer, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it
we will.
well, no, it seems like a pretty interesting thing. I went down to the courts today just to take a look at.
Go down there right now, I got 12 people playing.
So to give you an idea, if New Britain can fix it, if Middlefield can, this is my pitch to the mayor.
Right.
I'm gonna drive him around, just like I did on the tennis courts. I took him to the tennis courts and I watched him put his whole hand in a crack. And then I took him to one town over and showed him the state-of-the-art facility, and I said, this is on your watch. Within a year, we had new courts. So, but I was told by the boss
Yeah, I
that I
will.
have to come here first, so I can now say on the record, we've done it. But I can promise you this much, we'll push for this, because it's, I know it's a good thing to do. I know you guys are telling me all the things you have to tell me. But
Dude,
there's,
it's great for people. I lost 45 pounds.
It is
I
a
know, you look
rapidly
good.
growing
45
sport.
pounds.
I don't know if you've ever
Well,
been
I
to
mean,
Milford
I-
Eisenhower Park.
all the
That's-
time.
I took my kid
It's
to
a
splash
great
right there, that's
sport.
my parents. It's
The
phenomenal.
population of
It's
Berlin is
packed
getting
every
older.
time.
Yeah.
We have 6,000 seniors in town out of a population of 21,
Right.
right? So it's getting older. It is time. We
But
tried,
even the young,
put the
even
one
the
court
young,
in,
even the young kids are
unfortunately.
playing. I got those that started tonight.
Yeah,
So-
it's not going anywhere.
So Scott, you know, I can tell you, we've talked about this on this commission, and we're in your corner. We typically are.
it's all I need you to be is if it comes back to,
Yes, we are in your corner, right? We are. The fact, but I know you well enough. Do what you gotta do, and then we will continue. to promote
you all know my cousin,
Yes.
and you know my cousin's father. I put him on this project. And, but I don't wanna have anybody say we skipped a step, we haven't
No, I
talked to
appreciate you coming
somebody, and
here.
We're
Absolutely.
going to do it.
and I don't mean to be super passionate, it's just one of these things that,
It's the right thing to do. Yeah,
It's an awesome sport.
Listen,
I would never
we're not
thought.
trying to down it. You know, at the end of the day, we're just trying to show you the realities that's in
Right.
front of this commission. We're not elected officials, we are appointed officials. All we can do is by the whims of council, and then council, yes, by the whims of state by the whims of federal. So, I mean, if you have to, I mean, hey, God bless you, you know, go and make some good trouble.
And again, I just want to be totally transparent here. We have a list of capital projects yay long. It bothers me sometimes, or not sometimes, all the time, when the mayor or someone else will interject and put something at the top of the list, and all of a sudden, everything else gets pushed down,
that's fair.
and it's wrong. It's
Fair.
not
It is
right. Only if there's a greater need, right? It's all about need in the town. So our job will also have to be to prioritize. And I appreciate the funding from, you know, very good foundations, old foundations, which is great. But there are other projects that are on that list, and,
Understood.
you know, East Berlin Pool is one, and
Right, but you're not gonna get, but where I'm gonna hit you back with is you're not gonna get any private money for that, which means they'll be stuck on the list forever. I'm giving you one where we could give you enough money
I know.
and
then
push it just like we did with the
much-
high
I
school.
How
appreciate
much
that.
use does East Borough
But
Pool
all we
actually
can
have?
do is, yeah, I understand, believe me, but
Not anymore, not
I'm
like we
just
were
telling you
kids.
though.
And I hear
Just
your
like
point.
someone told me, I'm gonna give you money for a scoreboard that is gonna be put in now at Sage Park.
That was us.
Well, it was
Part
also
of-
Joe, right? So, and Joe got us a lot of money, but he also got us money for this, you know, NFL scoreboard out there, which is gonna be great. But I sit there and say, geez, I wish I could have gotten the 250 grand to do something that was on the capital list. That's, I'm just telling you, that's gonna be a
understand.
discussion item that we all will have, and,
Fair enough.
you know, but you have every right to go for it.
Yeah.
We support it. We know pickleball is the up and coming thing.
I gotta go play right now.
Have fun.
As you said, you were able to fit 6 courts.
I
inside
measured
the
it all
footprint.
out, I measured it out, we could actually get 6 of them in there, yes. 6
No
feet,
matter how we tried to design it, no matter how much we tried to maneuver and do it within inside the current
you could do,
footprint.
you could do 3 and 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We played
You go the
tournaments
other
with that,
way?
with those dimensions.
You gotta remember, you got a lot in between, and you got a lot of space on this side, not a lot of space.
Recreational length,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I measured, I mapped it all out already, you can go see
Yeah,
my
you
marks
s-
on.
do you have it in a diagram?
I could diagram it for you if you want. Want me
Please
to?
do.
That would
Yeah,
be
I will.
helpful.
Yeah.
I mean,
will.
and
I'll
I
put
think,
it to scale.
and I think in the interim, if we could be at least proposed to let us put the temporary lines down, because in
Right.
town, we probably have 9 people that own nets that have spent
Right.
$200 each on
Yeah,
a net,
I got nets.
and that's a cost of nothing.
Yep, right.
He's got to talk to you about that.
But I guess what we're saying is we're proposing that as a,
Yeah, no,
as a
I'm
And
solution.
saying-
you know, that
Until
might
we
be
can get-
something that,
And then if
Can
this is
get
gonna
done, but
possibly
again-
take a long time, which it may do, we actually install some lights.
Lights is facilities department, right?
Lights falls under.
Yeah, we don't have any
gotta get
oversight into
facilities for that?
facilities, yeah.
Okay, I'll take care of that.
But I guess
We
what
just
we're,
have no oversight on lights.
Okay, I didn't know what, you know.
and sorry for the passion, but we wanted you
no,
to
no, no,
recognize
passion
this
is,
is.
we all have it, and we
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yep.
I think that's great.
No, and we appreciate
Let's
you
put it
coming
this way,
here,
none
like
of
I
us
said,
would
that's
be
the
here if
first
we didn't
stop.
have passion.
Right.
Appreciate that, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, you're right.
All right.
Okay,
We need
thank you
to-
very much, everybody.
So Jim,
If you could,
so instead of going to play pickleball, you better get those courts over to Mr. Wood, right?
The courts.
Your graphics.
Oh, my graphics, I can do that tomorrow at work.
if you could do that, because Steve will take a look at things,
I will, I'll lay it
figure it
all out.
out. and
Yeah,
then-
we've been in contact with 2 companies already where they've tried to do it, and we played with it, tried to come
Yeah,
up with it.
it's-
Yeah.
I mean, I-
One was Classic Turf, who built the high school.
Yeah, but
so-
they do it, their dimensions are not what you can jam them into. We play
Yeah.
tournaments all the time.
Right, but that's who I
Yeah,
started
you
with,
have to
Classic
narrow
Turf.
it in between, obviously.
How
Yeah,
much
they
space-
want like 15 feet between.
Well, that's
courts.
what we
You don't
want
need
the
that.
regulation size.
But the courts will be regulation, but between the courts, you know, I figure like 8 feet between courts.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Send that over, that would be great, because that's extremely helpful.
Yeah, I will.
And we did meet with Classic Turf, and their ballpark figure is right around 2 with the current footprint that it's in.
And that's
Because brand new,
post-construction or
That's
no?
close to
200 grand?
Right.
It has 4 courts.
4. But adding the other 2 is, it's gonna be inside the same footprint, we're not.
Well,
You
the
can't
nets,
go any wider than currently what it is right now due to the wetlands. So there's no way
you can't go north?
toward, we hog into the hill.
No, towards the pool, as north towards the
So
pool.
like 10 feet out the far northwest corner is
Yeah.
wetlands.
Oh, all right.
So where those phragmites are coming in,
Yeah.
that's the wetlands.
So
So
we're
the
stuck with the
okay.
footprint.
footprint is the footprint, we can't, we've already vetted that.
But
as well.
even 4 would be,
Right, we're on board with
We'll get 6.
So,
Yeah.
so
If you can give me a diagram with 6,
I'll
then
give
that's
you
what we'll.
6.
yeah,
that's
so
the-
I have a question. So if, are there similar, in other towns, are they bunched that close
yes,
Oh,
together?
yeah.
yes.
We play Rock Hill Tennis and Fitness Center, we literally have what, between our courts,
Yeah,
4
yeah.
feet.
Are,
It's
Are the
tight.
balls
You need
going
about
into
6
the
to 8.
courts?
A little bit, but again, the popularity is such,
Yeah.
people are happy to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
If you haven't looked it up, just YouTube it. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
YouTube Ben John.
We-
Yeah, I've seen
No,
it live and
I
go for it,
Yeah,
it's
that's
ridiculous.
It's fun.
Thank you, guys.
Love it.
Thank
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you,
Have fun.
guys.
Yeah.
Matt, you got my email?
Huh?
You've got my email, right?
I do, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
See you guys, thank
Good
you.
one,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Okay, that's it for audience citizens?
Yep.
Approval of minutes, I was not here
Right.
for most of it anyway, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes
I'll
on
second.
May 12th.
I'll second it.
Okay, so the four of you, Joe's online, the four of you were all here at the
Yes,
last meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye, unanimous, okay. Okay, consent agenda, before we get started, if we could add item F. Item F is request by Carlo Rosito for permission to consume alcoholic beverages as he mentioned, beer and wine at Timberland Park Pavilion for a family reunion on Saturday, July 23rd, 8 AM to 7 PM. 40 guests with ages 10 to 80, food will be served, no entertainment, tulip insurance will be obtained if alcohol permit is granted. Can I have a motion to accept that to be added to the consent agenda?
I motion that item F and everything you said, with
Okay.
item F be added to the consent agenda.
Thank you. Don seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good there. Okay, I really, I think we can do all.
I was just gonna say that.
So can I have a motion
Every
to
year.
accept the consent agenda items A through F?
I'll make the motion to accept consent agenda A through F.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Little League obviously includes.
Yep, I'll add that.
Okay. Okay, Parks and Rec, motion report, Doug.
I'm up first only because I do have, I have, if we're not done, I have to leave this before 7. I'm taking a training to be able to administer medication at camp. I have several of my staff are also going through a Zoom training to do EpiPen administration. They're in that now. And then medical, medicine, if we have kids who need that, so
Okay.
that's why I had asked people to. So, yeah, I don't, everything is pretty much what I've been doing on the, on my report. Covering the office has been big with, still without having our secretary, but we've been doing interviews, so hopefully we can get someone in place within the next few weeks. I don't know if anyone had any questions.
You want?
Actually,
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna have a question first and then you can mention.
This is nerve-wracking now. What's going on?
Yeah, Deb, so
Yes.
can you just clarify where we are right now with the lifeguards? Are we all set?
We.
I saw,
For the most part, we are only opening one pool on the weekends. The supervisors are still an issue because I am limited with the amount of supervisors I have who are also my swim team coaches, who are also my swim lesson instructors. So they can only work so many hours. So I've decided to close East Berlin on the weekends. Percival will be open. It really should not be, based on our numbers last year, it should not be an issue. If people want to swim, they go to Percival.
Right.
There may be a couple nights where we might have to close early. We just got the swim team scheduled today, so I haven't looked. We're just starting to work on that now, so hopefully there's not a lot of impact. It's the supervisors, it's not the number of lifeguards. We have lifeguards, but it's having those kids who are old enough and mature enough to be able to run the pool and oversee the rest of the staff. So
how many supervisors do you have?
I have 5 this year. And there's a good chance I could have none of them next year because they're all juniors in college.
Yeah.
So I have very few 18-year-olds on my staff, but I have spoken to them saying that I will be looking for leaders for the future. So that's one thing I'm gonna really look all summer. And I've made them kind of aware of it, and that if we're not able to do that, if I'm not able to get kids who are old enough and mature enough to do that, then there may be, a circumstance where we are not able to open pools, so. It's the best I can do, I mean, it's a bad market, and unfortunately, because we're not year round.
Right.
We don't have that ability to have the college kids working for us all the time and then
Right.
step in for the summer, so we're kind of, we're at a disadvantage, although I spoke to Nick Britton, and I think he said, when I had talked to him, they're about 12 guards short, so it's a nationwide issue.
Yeah.
So we're doing the best at this point that we can, and again, I think it'll be minimal impact to close these Berlin movements.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
get that done.
Yeah, we
Give a
just
shout
wanted
out.
to do a shout out for the recognition you got on Facebook, and that was great.
Yeah,
Thank
Tony
you.
had sent us an email, he wanted to wish you well as well. so
Okay, yeah, yeah.
congratulations.
We're actually, I was in touch again with Mr. Briganti, and we are going to do, he spoke to Brian Benigni, and Brian's gonna allow them to do outside movies this summer, because the schools we can't get into, so we're gonna sponsor that also.
Nice.
So he's able to continue, and then end of August, once school's in session again, I'll put in a slip and we'll get them back in the auditorium at McGee. So, yeah, I mean, it really wasn't a lot on our end, but I was happy to help him out, and he said that, the crowd's getting some decent numbers,
so
so.
where are you gonna do the outdoor?
He's gonna arrange that with the school, it's somewhere in the front of the building, so I had sent the request to the Board of Ed today, and I will recommend to him that which he did, to go inside. He met with the staff to see exactly, go over the equipment, make sure he could operate it, so I said the same thing, he's gonna need to know where he can plug into any kind of power, because he's gonna need a power source, but that's, the Board of Education has been very helpful in working with him to try to make that a success, so. Yeah, so it was nice to have some good.
No, right, exactly.
On Facebook.
I do have one other question.
Sure.
Is there ever been any thought about Berlin, entertaining, bringing in bands like they do in other towns? And the reason I'm asking the question is because it seems like now some of the smaller towns, like I use Plainville for example, Plainville Park and Rec is doing 4 this year, right? They used to do 2, now they're doing 4, and we're not, it's a pretty small town as well. I'm just wondering.
We had entertainment, all the funding was cut. So we got, one year, I received donations from several groups in town. And the council came back to me, because the money that the groups donated were always supposed to go to the bands, and the town absorbed all the other staff costs, everything else that was involved, and the town came to me and said, well, can you go to the sponsors and see if they have an issue, and part of their money goes to support the staff and everything else, and everyone withdrew their money, so we lost all the funding. Yeah, and it really wasn't supported in town. I mean, there were concerts that we had more staff on duty than people that attended. So it's a little tough when an entertainer's up there,
Yeah, no.
And even when we had when the bank supported that Simple Swing, they would come through around Flag Day.
Right.
I mean, maybe we'll get like 30, 40 people, and so it just wasn't a big turnout.
Where did they have them?
They had it right by at the gazebo by Stop and Shop. So,
Right.
yeah, but that's really we for years we had them, but once the funding got cut, it's expensive, it's a lot to bring in those bands and all the setup and the staffing and,
I was
yeah.
just curious.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the history of it, so.
Thank you.
So, by the way, both schools look great. I told Steve today, I didn't buy both of them. I think they're in pristine condition. Look good.
As good as they can.
Yeah, right.
East Berlin just passed inspection today, so.
You got it.
How much is that? How much is that?
Money is no option.
Okay, any more questions for Deb?
Job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice job, Debbie.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Community Senior Center update. Let me give it.
You were at the forums, I mean,
So we had 2 public forums, one was during the day and one was at the evening. The mayor gave both presentations. The afternoon session at 1 o'clock at the senior center is on YouTube.
yep, we had about 80 people.
If you care to take a look at it. I was not there, I wasn't able to make it, but I did go to the 6:30 one, which I understand was more or less a repeat of what
Yeah,
was
it's the same
presented.
presentation. A lot of seniors spoke out at the 1 o'clock one, asked a lot of questions. So that was good.
So, you know, just, my take is, obviously, the mayor made the presentation, the council really want to control, public outreach, so the advisory council really have no say, other than, there's a detailed report with addendums plus a, PowerPoint that I did, with some pages that were removed and stuff, so that was all right, so, but,
Donna took the mic a few times. She asked the mayor if she could ask a question and just got up
and then I just got.
covered a lot of stuff
Right,
that
so-
wasn't covered.
You know, I think it's fair to take a look at it. I mean, you know, the mayor is certainly pro Y. And, you know, he had no qualms kind of indicating that at the meetings. And I think that's probably why some seniors spoke out in the afternoon session. But there were also a couple of people that spoke up about the tax impact, which is significant. And people have to realize that with no funding coming from state, private, federal, or anything like that. So it you know, definitely is a significant impact to the town taxes. I don't know where it's going to head. I did have a discussion with the mayor afterwards where I said, you know, if you're this gung ho, you really need to have the Y do a feasibility study before you start pushing it anymore, because we don't know if it's even feasible for the Y to come into Berlin with all the other Ys around the area. So, and you know, a couple other concerns with the Y is, and the mayor said this, he said, well, the Y does want to kind of consolidate what they do here in Berlin and bring it to wherever there's, you know, a new center might be. So you got the summer camp at Willard that has a significant number of kids, and, you know, well attended. So it's probably a very good camp. That would go to that Y probably, and, you know, other things. So, and the Y has had some issues with taking care of their facilities. They just got $1 million grant by the state to take care of the facility in New Britain because they have broken windows and some problems in their gym and heating and air conditioning and, you know, so, you know, what the town would have to do to fundraise, so does the Y have to do. And it's all community based. So, but that being said, I think it was well attended. Disappointed in the citizen, I saw it today, there's nothing in it at all. So
I
I
haven't
don't
seen
know if it
anything
was
yet.
covered.
Yeah, she was at the 1 o'clock one. There was a
Okay,
reporter
so
at the
maybe
1 o'clock,
next
but I
week.
haven't seen anything
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
The mayor did mention at the 6:30 that he didn't mention at the 1. It's obviously not going to go on the November referendum, but he did mention possibly coming up with some questions that he could put on the referendum. What those questions will be, we don't know yet, but I do know at this last council meeting, they did forward the report from the committee to the Board of Finance. So it'll be in their hands now to review, I believe, so. And they said they will continue to talk about it at town council meetings, so.
So I was at the second meeting with Donna, and it was pretty clear, right? Why no taxes? You know, the town was at 40 million or whatever. I mean, the whole thing was presented that way, even with cons for the Y. The meets the needs assessment was number 13 on the list, right? On the budget. So I asked the question at the end, I said, geez, I'm kind of confused. I said, you know, why are we considering the Y if it doesn't meet the needs assessment, needs statement? And then I don't think I gave a chance to answer it. I said, well, I understand you want to have a choice, I guess. But based on what I've seen, you know, because the mayor says, oh, well, they'll give us something, they'll give us this, you know, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, you better find out what they're going to give us, because based on Benigni's, when I was watching it on the meeting on Zoom, I'm going, it was like a hum and a hum and a hum and a hum and a hum. He didn't answer anything, right? And so some people laugh, but I mean, Mayor goes, yes, we'll have to look into that. Yeah, we'll.
It's not gonna do anything with sorrow, trust me, he says this all the time, especially before election years and stuff like that. When you try to nail him down on something, you go, oh, what about this, look at the pretty bird over here, and everyone forgets about it, you know? And it's
Well,
just
that's what
like,
they're doing,
give me a
is they-
freaking-
yeah.
it's like, absolute, give me a break, I saw the YouTube, I saw the thing on YouTube, I'm thinking to myself, literally, like, all he's just trying to do is nail us to the wall with a woman. That's it. He doesn't give a rat's patoot about let's forget the fact that it's kind of being a little disingenuous that once you start the process and going through all these different processes, that eventually you are gonna have to start talking to the state of Connecticut about possibilities of funding, which is not gonna start showing up until the next fiscal year anyway, after the next GA and state senate gets elected, gets sworn into office. Let's not, there's all these different things that he's not even mentioning, all these different procedural things not even mentioning, and then just saying, well, because of X, Y, and Z, let's not even look at it. Let's just look at the why, because that's our saving grace. That's the only thing that's not gonna give us new taxes. It's like, my thought process is seeing the whole thing, seeing what's going on with New London recently. They've got $100 million or something like that. They're gonna get nailed with, and what we're looking at 60 something million. I'm thinking to myself, oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And thank God I don't live in New York, because, if you're so worried about taxes, there's gonna be huge tax rate down there.
The other challenge is that to get grant money, you have to be shovel ready, right?
Right. Which is
Yeah.
what we're on.
And so that's a challenge.
You can't promise anything, and the town has to approve it, so.
But you also can't not mention that there's a procedure.
Oh, yeah, no,
And
we did.
He totally glossed over it.
At the 6:30 meeting, I got up and talked about the procedure,
Okay,
both federal and state. And we had a nice chart in there that was taken out. But that's their prerogative. Unfortunately, that's, they get to do that. I'm hoping
but it's disingenuous though, even if you see taking stuff out like that, but it's very disingenuous, especially not only to the taxpayer, but to the average voter, honestly, in my opinion, not only in my opinion, my personal belief.
Right.
If
But
you're gonna
honest,
show something.
quite frankly, not a lot of people came out to our meetings.
There
You know,
weren't
I mean, you gotta have
30
people, well, even these
committee
meetings were
meetings.
well attended, but
Yeah.
our advisory, we had probably 6 or 7, maybe
Thursdays, and
4
that's it.
that continually came to every meeting, said certain things, So the need and the push has to be there, just like Pierre Pickleball, you gotta have that passion, or you're gonna have. Okay, that's the update. I do wanna give a shout out to Jen thank you for being the liaison for the advisory committee and all that you had to deal with on all
Thank
sides. Well, thank you for that.
It's an
Okay.
experience. Steven,
Perfect. Do you want to touch base a little bit on pickleball and what we talked about today?
I mean, you can certainly give us your thoughts for right now, and yeah.
So, so Debbie, Jen, and myself were talking, and I've had a conversation with Classic Turf and Putnam Tennis regarding transitioning the pickleball courts in East Berlin, or tennis courts in East Berlin, to pickleball courts, because we all understand how large it's grown. The quote that we got from Classic Turf, who's the one who did the work at high school, was just under $200,000, but we figured with contingency and everything that plays in role in that, we're a little over $200,000. We don't really know what exactly they're looking for or how big they want to go, but with them wanting lights, I think that's gonna also change the parameters of the neighbors.
Yeah, right.
We get a
That's
lot
another
of,
issue,
we get a
right?
plethora of complaints right now regarding the lights at McGee, the lights at the high school, if they're not shut off enough, that's why we included that into our policy. So the long and the short of it is like, we maybe do a phase 1, phase 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my concern comes from the ground standpoint. I find it very disheartening as he describes our facilities, because, I take a lot of pride in them, and I take that personally, but East Berlin Pool has served its purpose. It is at the end of its life. We currently have $200,000 in the budget to replace the pool
from the surplus funds.
from surplus funds to move forward with at the closure of the pool this year. In good conscience, when I walk around that pool, I look at the pool deck, I look at the gutters, I look at the stairs, look at the bottom of the pool, go inside, start checking the mechanicals, the four filters that are in there, the pump that's in there, and the whole system and the pool house.
And the attendance is extremely low.
Before we would even think about, saying no to the pool liner or no to investing a large sum of money into this pool, we would ask, and the same thing, I guess, Scott is asking today is the backing of you guys. What your opinions might be. What support would you give us if we decided to say the investment of $200,000 is not worth the reward? I mean, we learned the first lesson when they went to redid that pool 7 years ago with the plaster. It came in at like $47,000. The first hole went in the wall, we were at $68,000. The last hole went in the wall, we were at 87 and change. So that's the predicament I'm put in.
But look at surrounding towns. Surrounding towns, how many pools do they typically have? One. We have one that's functional right now.
Yep.
And working well. That one, what you just described to me is just throwing money away. Because at the end of the day, we're gonna run into problems, whether it's next year or the year after, we're gonna have problems with that. So in my opinion, it's, we should put that money elsewhere. If that's what you're asking, if that's what you're suggesting, that would be my vote, but I don't know who ultimately makes that decision.
I think Debbie, Jen, and myself do with how we move forward. But if we don't have the full support of this commission, moving forward could put us in a tough predicament.
Understand?
So along with that is the attendance. And, we have the numbers. We did that summary.
Right.
We have that factual sheet. So that was brought up with the Community and Senior Center. And some of the people that were on the advisory committee of a party yelled at me and said, what do you want to do? Have screaming parents and kids coming down and yelling at us? And I said, no, it's just financially, it doesn't necessarily make sense. And beyond that, 200,000, we have 750,000 in there for ADA compliance, or $1 million.
I think the whole upgrade of the whole entire facilities is right around $750,000.
Yeah.
But we all know.
For a pool that's open 56 days or, something like that, right? I mean, that's what it is. We have problems with lifeguards. We can't man a pool.
Yeah.
Full-time, right? So all these points together, I think if we take that factual financial sheet that had the number of days, number of visitors, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, all that, it's a good sheet. Has the capital budget that was in there, along with your assessment.
Yeah, there's your answer.
I personally would support. I'd like to see the whole thing put together in writing before we go, but I would go in front of the council support as long as our commission agrees with that.
I don't even think going to council would be a thing. I think if the commission was on board with myself, Debbie and Steve talking to Kevin Delaney and Roche and the capital committee that's deciding the surplus funds, what's being used. And we inputted that the 200,000 that is set aside for the Parks and Recreation and Grounds Department for the pool liner, we would like to reappropriate it to, for example, pickleball.
Yeah, I was gonna
courts.
say, put it in the big one.
It would be done.
Well,
It wouldn't be needed.
I mean, I'm not saying put the money towards pickleball.
I know, I'm just using that as an example.
I'm not there. The next question is, what's the next thing on our capital?
Right.
And let's all talk about that capital list and
That
prioritize
would
with your
be-
thoughts.
That would be the next thing on our list, would be renovating one of the courts.
Because the McGee tennis courts also need to be resurfaced. And
That's not primarily part of it. That's part of 61, that's part of the school. This is something that should go, in my opinion, to Park.
I agree, I agree. So
Harvard is also part. Harvard is also part.
is this something that,
61, isn't it? Harvard doesn't fall under 61,
That
it
gave
falls
the-
under grounds.
Even though the tennis court is in the footprint of the school, we say that the fence is the end of the footprint of the school.
Okay.
So all those renovations would fall under mine and not 61.
What would happen with the pool if it's still in? I mean, if they have to something.
It's gonna fall in, it's gonna just get sucked up into the earth.
the
There's
estimate was
an area,
350 to decommission.
Yeah, you're right, exactly.
I was at the.
That's what you're gonna spend your money on.
Well, right, and I was at the inspection today, and Toby pointed out to me behind one of the lifeguard chairs how the concrete is, it's sunk. I mean, it's, you can see that it's not level, the pool's in an awful area, and as much as I've always wanted to keep the pool open and not reduce services. I mean, that pool needs more than the 200,000 to really, people, I thought people don't go
Why
there
put it in
because
there?
it's, the bathhouse is, just gets a paint job every year. You know, they put some new sinks and things in, but I just think that it's, other towns invest in their.
Right.
And.
But most have
And they're
once,
punching
so
less.
most have once, you can allocate your money to that.
Right.
And you know what's the, I commend the three of you for thinking this way, because that's where we should be.
Yeah.
We should be, not be throwing money into just throwing money into a certain spot because someone's either complaining about it or someone thinks we need to because of children crying or parents coming in.
Right.
I mean, to me, that makes no sense.
Well, because if he puts the 200,000 into the liner and now there are more issues come out of that, where are we getting that money from? And then they're gonna say, well, why
Why
would you put the money in the
Thank
first
you.
place?
Thank you.
So as hard as it is,
Thank
it's not a professional, you know, it's not the professional opinion that I wanna have, but it's the financially responsible
Exactly.
So
opinion.
is
It's
the
your
thing
money.
to do is to
Well, it's
get
a town money,
All
right,
all
right.
that's it.
professional to take a look at the pool.
That's, I'm gonna I'm gonna reach out to a few people that I
To
know,
see if they'll.
to see if there is somebody that can come and give me a cost
before-
analysis of what it would cost to rebuild my portion of the pool that needs to be up running.
But then you need the building.
The building doesn't fall underneath.
No, but it does,
But
right?
that's
It's-
not-
I
no,
know
no.
budget wise, but you have to. You can't say, I got a crappy building,
But
I'm
you
gonna
know,
upgrade the pool just like.
But Doug has to
but I
take
respectfully-
lead on that.
So what do you want me to do? Call him and tell him?
But what I'm
we're
saying,
gonna have
what I'm
someone-
saying is, we have the portion to take care of the pool place, and there's the portion to take care of the building. The building is a totally separate identity than the pool is. We're looking at the $200,000 that's appropriated for the pool. The $200,000 is for the functionality of the pool, not the pool house. The pool house, the ADA compliance and everything, that's great, that falls on facilities, and Doug can come back with a number of 750,000. But we're deciding of what we want to do and how we want to move forward with the $200,000 that's currently allocated for the bowels of that.
I think all that Don is saying though, is that if you take the complete picture, understanding that doesn't fall
You
under
have to.
responsibility,
Yeah.
but a one pager that says the estimate to do X, Y, and Z is this, right? Reality check, it's gonna be more than just the 200,000.
Right.
I think that's all you're asking.
And I would think that, you know, if you and facilities got together and to show that, you know, the amount of savings that you be accruing by not going forward would be a good thing. Like if you just put everything on a piece of paper. I understand you've got your piece and they've got theirs.
I mean, the Roche has to pull you guys together and do that. I mean,
It's no problem, Doug and I work
I know
harmoniously
you do,
together.
I know.
We,
So it's
we just
not-
know how this
Yeah.
game works.
Right, understand. Well, then you know how
Well,
it
that's
works.
fine,
Yeah.
but-
We know how it,
But when you go to the council or whomever, right, it is the fact that just realize, guys, this is right behind you though too. ADA compliant on the facility. And in the
Right, but-
meantime, we try and keep up the facility as good as it is.
I guess not to belabor this any longer, but you know the traction that happens when somebody stands in front of this commission. And then they go to town hall, and then it goes that way. We went through it with the basketball courts and tennis courts. We went through it then with Zipadelli. And from there, we went through it with, well, before that, we had Scalise. That came here.
That's right.
That was early 2000s. And the last one was Sage One.
Right.
That's the way it goes. And once these get some traction, it's a bulldozer.
Well, Scott's gonna make.
Oh, exactly.
He's
We
gonna,
have to,
he's not.
I have to have a plan, and Debbie has to have a plan, and so does Jen. When our phone rings and it says a Roche, we need to make sure we've already put all our
So-
ducks in a row and we've got everything
So
together.
here's a suggestion, right? Here's a suggestion on that 200,000. Again, and let's use pickleball as an example. You had someone come up here today and say $250,000 or $550,000 to $100,000. And we are willing to fund some of this. We don't know where he's coming from, right? So that to me is a conversation that has to take place. When someone's willing to offer some monies, You take your 2,000, it may not be 200,000 in loan, it may be only 100,000, because he's looking for a partner, that's what he said. He's looking for someone to partner.
I'm sorry, but I have to
No,
get.
no, take
yeah,
your class, good luck with it.
Thank you.
The thing is,
Good, good.
they're gonna
I'm
have
glad
to
you're thinking
indicate
this.
a range
Yeah.
that they're gonna come up with, because, I mean, the foundations are great, but, you know, there's limitations on what they have.
See what, Scott, well,
I know, but I also say as Parker Rec, we need to look at the capital list. I don't know what's the next priority on the list, but it
The most of the priorities on the capital improvement list are all,
are the
are
pools.
ground vehicles. Our trucks that are 20 years old, our Bobcat that's 15 years
Okay.
old, our trackless that's, with all price tags of somewhere between $75,000 and $150,000. That's where a lot of it is. Then we go into the playgrounds, then we go into the school playgrounds. That's a large portion of it, you know, the $30,000 renovation to Puccini to make it a 50-70 field is not a lot of money.
Yeah.
But when you're looking to put a new grounds truck to put to plow those parking lots, you're looking at $75,000 without dropping a dime. We just purchased a new Bobcat last night, the bid was $97,000.
Wow,
That's a lot of money.
yeah,
So
I mean, that's,
our sidewalk
That's
machine to do
reality.
the sidewalks is 73. Our main sidewalks, the main sidewalks throughout town, that starts at 126.
so you're gonna talk to some people that you know, the pools, to see what you can do. What's the next step for our commission then? You're gonna come back to us?
If you guys are not on board with transferring the money to put towards pickleball and you wanna look at the capital list, I think that's what we have to do
need
as a
to-
commission.
We need to look at what else we have on the list.
We can provide that at the next. meeting.
Again, I hate when things jump in and all of a sudden the plans that you guys have, we've talked about are gone.
Well, I agree that we need to look at the capital list, but I also don't want to look at gift horse in our mouth, right? I mean, if they're willing to give us some money, we should probably consider that, because again, I'm just gonna make this an example. If they want to give us $50,000 or $100,000, which, an example,
Yeah,
and you got 200, that $100,000 then could be used for something else in the capital list, especially if pickleball's on the capital list. I don't know where it sits.
I'm just telling you though, to decommission a pool, the estimate was 350 grand. That's where your money's gonna go.
I'm sorry, no.
Yeah. Oh,
But there's,
that's
the
a
pool
number.
can sit in the current state that it is.
Okay,
So, but here, I started this investigation last November or December. It took me to April to finally get a hold of a reputable post-tension concrete company to get a bid. They were booked last November, not accepting any phone calls, anybody in the Northeast.
yeah.
And that's
Such demand, right.
that's draw drop.
Yeah.
In the Northeast.
Well, because you don't use a pool that much.
But this was for tennis courts,
Oh,
basketball.
Yeah. They're all booked.
They're booked. They have, it's name your price. So that was just a little sidebar on that.
No, that's,
It's good
good
talk.
discussion,
Good
so,
talk.
It's good to know.
Yeah, we talked earlier, we wanted to make sure that you guys understood that the three of us we're realistic, we understand East Berlin pools at the end of life. We wanted to make sure that you knew that the three of us were all on that same page. Like Debbie said, Debbie has sat here how many years saying, we need 2 pools, we can't cut services, we need these pools, all these pools open, and she understands that that's not the reality anymore.
Right.
Financially, that's not the best decision.
So you're gonna, so basically you're gonna present all this information. We already know, I guess, what the attendance is. I don't, but I mean,
yeah, well, we had. it
Like I said,
before.
it's not something we have to go present to council. We work with, we work with Kevin and DeRoche because it's surplus funds. And right now, there is $200,000 allocated to the pool liner. We can simply say, for reasons A, B, C, and D, we want to allocate it here instead.
Right.
And that's something that's done in-house, it's done within the staff, and it's not.
but I'm just talking about for your analysis. In other words, and then
How much it's gonna cost for Hubbard though, before
Yes,
you
It
make
sounds like
that
they don't even
decision.
need to do that.
No, but the reality is though,
Right, so what I will do is this, is by September, I will put
because we're
a,
not gonna put the liner in before that, I mean, this.
the liner,
this year.
the liner won't go
Right,
into,
this year.
the liner won't go into, but
Right.
hopefully by our September meeting, I will be able to find somebody, I would say is a pool expert, to come down and check the current condition of the pool. The pool expert is not going to give us an analysis on the pool building, that will go.
I
Doug
understand,
will
that's
reach out to
separate,
right,
I
I'm-
understand.
I'm gonna meet with Doug tomorrow morning at 8:30, have him do on his part what it would cost to bring that building up to compliance.
Yeah.
And I will do on my part when it comes back, and we'll both come back with an estimate of what we think needs to be replaced and how much it's going to cost.
So if that's the case then, right? I strongly recommend that based on the two gentlemen that were here today, that you at least get back to them on if you wanna paint the things and do the lines and stuff, because if they're gonna go up the food chain, you know you're gonna hear about it.
I know it.
So,
Oh, yeah,
so,
they're gonna get you
Yeah,
like their.
right, no, he's gonna get him, he's gonna get him
Right,
the
right,
diagram,
right, the blueprint.
right, but he did say, I'm willing to, and I know you can't do it because of time.
I sub it out at.
Yes,
I
right,
don't do it
but
in-house.
what I'm saying is that if he's willing to do it, you can just, at least we're making progress towards.
Right, if there's something that can be done on a temporary basis, that, Steve would work with.
So what I will do is this, I will call We Do Lines coming tomorrow morning, see when Bob can come in and paint them. And if you guys are in favor and you want me to paint them, because we didn't paint them because you guys only wanted 2 courts. And you wanted to keep a functional tennis court, that's why there's only 2 courts painted.
And it's important to know that Debbie does have tennis lessons there for 1 week in August this year. Now granted, she might be able to move those to Rocky Hill, but I do know that that is scheduled.
Rocky Hill.
Rocky Hill indoor tennis, because they're the ones that do our lessons. So she may be able to move her 1 week. It's the 1 week when Hospital for Special Care is running their camp at the high school, so she can't do them at the high school, so she moved them to Hubbard. But she might be able to, if we were able to paint the courts like in the next couple of weeks, say, or after July 1st.
And she can't use McGee
Yeah,
tennis courts?
We have to check the condition.
All right, that's something to check, because
But-
I'd hate to take away tennis if people are
right,
using it,
no, agree.
right?
Yeah.
But that's what you guys
It's
know,
that
whether
first,
or not
it's
people
that
use
first
it.
or second week in August that I
Well,
know
you
she has scheduled there.
All right,
She
so-
might be able to move
But
them
we can always put a
indoors.
sign that says closed for park and rec. Courts pickleball courts unavailable for park, due to park.
For that one week, right.
So if they're
Because-
painting,
because
oh, yeah,
once you
sure,
paint-
tennis courts, tennis courts.
The tennis
Yeah,
nets
they
stay
can
in the
play
middle.
tennis or.
Okay. I didn't
or
know
they
they
can
Because once you
pickleball,
paint,
sorry.
it's not like you can't play tennis.
Right.
Exactly.
I thought
Right, right,
that's
right.
right. If
So,
tennis nets are
so
still
one
there,
last,
that's
que-
fine.
one last question, because I wanna be cognizant of the, where the kiddies play, playgrounds. How much would it cost to fix some of them up, right? The one that, when the young lady came that time, she talked about it.
So right now, when the lady came in, I believe I was already in the process, I ordered, I think, around $27,000 worth. As a piece of equipment becomes broken, obsolete, the lead time on them is astronomically long. So the part that is broken, when you're climbing up, is a 26-week lead time. Wow. And it's right around 13,000.
And which piece is it Worthington Ridge?
You know, it's little people.
So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that, like, Jen and I have a meeting set already to drive around, really dive into the bowels of our capital improvement, of what we really need, and to really itemize them, and actually spend a large period of time doing it.
because I do think, based on what we heard that, from that.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a need,
Yeah.
but I think there's a need for that.
So on that, I brought my granddaughter to Worthington Ridge. And there's a lot of poison ivy in the ground.
In the wood fiber,
Yeah.
it's maple, it's swamp maple saplings. We went in there, we whacked it, we did
Well, I'm telling you, it looks like poison ivy.
it's not, it's swamp maple saplings.
Okay. So you can't spread.
You're not spraying, due to Connecticut DEP restrictions,
Right, in which, so
because it's inside of a playground and not in any type of
you don't, do you
EPA
rake it, do
registered
you
product.
try and pull them up, or
Oh, we
just,
weed whack them, we
just
raked
weed
it,
whack?
and then they'll die.
So that's what you think it is, you
No,
don't think
the-
it's poison ivy?
I gotta pull this money out.
So yeah, we've got that. other-
Oh, we
have
have
the same-
poison ivy.
We have the same problem.
That's
That's
what
what
I-
I-
it looks
Yeah,
like.
exactly.
But
If
it
you go
looks
to
like,
Little People's, it's got the same thing.
okay,
Um,
all right, thanks, all
No
right.
problem. So let me dive into the Park and Rec report now. Tony's not here, which breaks my heart because he's the one that I make sure that I find something every month that he has no clue about what we do. Is inside Ragged Mountain, a Eagle Scout built a bridge. Bobby Brown's son built the bridge back in 2007. It is now in disarray. So we are tasked with the task of going out, seeing what this bridge needs, finding a contractor to come in and rebuild the bridge. So there is many assets taken away from field usage to do this. There's where things that people don't. see.
Right. And Ragged Mountain's not under our purview at all.
Dragon Mountain Fund falls under mine because all
I,
open space
I
falls
know
under.
it's under yours, I'm just saying, that's case in point.
I have a question. So, let's just say you couldn't get, well, I'm sure it has to be fixed right away, but the Eagle Scouts to go fix it. We called them, there was very little interest.
Central Connecticut. They built some really good bridges.
They're
down
coming, they're coming in to do a trail project for us, but with this being a safety and a liability issue, we have to move rapid.
Yeah, okay.
Makes sense. Okay, the next one is, I'm sure that everybody has noticed the absolutely wonderful job the guys inside of our shop did with planting everything, and
Yes.
the compliments are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I really have to give them a shout out for all the hard work they do and the amount of hours.
Yeah.
I mean, they put their blood, heart, sweat, and tears into it, so I couldn't be more proud of all of them.
And very well noted and noted on Facebook, there were a lot of great comments, and that's shout out to you and your whole team. That's the other one that we had on the list to make sure we made it. So thank you.
No problem.
All
Awesome.
veterans for the gold star.
Oh, yeah.
Steve's crew and everything, right?
The other one is, I think we've pretty much got most of the broken benches. If somebody comes across another one, please let us know. We replaced the last two, I think, at E, and there might be a picnic table at Percival, but we are plugging away. Dog park update. So here we are with this. Arosh and I took a ride 2 or 3 weeks ago and looked at a bunch of different multiple locations of what possibly might work, what possibly might not work. A diagram was drawn up with option A, option B of where they would fence it in, where they go with the original fairway with right around 48,000 square feet, don't hold me to the math. And then another fairway which was closer to Spruce Brook with, I think, like 36 and change. As far as I know, the next meeting, next Thursday, Donna is joining us for a meeting at Pistol Creek.
I just got an email today, I was gonna, right, from Arosh to join them on a walkthrough. So,
Yep, and they're looking to enclose 3 sides, which I don't think currently right now. I will send the email to Paul Grizzle to see if it affects, but it moves everything away from the handicap path. It takes everything away from where a pedestrian or anybody would walk. It'll have 2 access gates to get in and out. It'll have 2 accessible gates for us to get in there and mow and maintain the property. I
so
think,
it'd be fully fenced.
yeah, it's a 3-sided fence because you have a natural buffer on the 4th side. So, and it looks like the price tag on those are looking at right around $16,000 per section. Per section. So we did
So
pay.
about 50,
No, so like say if we went with the original fairway that they were thinking of, that's 16 and change. If we go to the second fairway that we came up with, that's 16 and change. So whichever one they figure, we're looking at like $16,000 just in fencing.
and I'm sorry, the second one is where?
The second one is, so if you go straight across from the clubhouse, you go straight across where the porta potty is.
Yeah.
You keep going right behind Moore's backyard, right there, that fairway there.
Goes on
So
to the,
why are we focused on, you call them fairways, but why are you focused on open fields that are there right now that people walk through? Like, right across the porta potties, the path is there.
Yep.
That's one course going around, so now we're gonna chain in the green area. What, like, why not look across the street on the corner? Yeah, across from Matson Farm.
On the side of the street. Across from that.
Mass's Farm,
Where I-
is this like this way?
Remember when the discussion I had with
Mass's
you,
Farm
there's
too.
5 acres? Because
And you-
it would take, because you would have to tear
We'll
it down.
definitely bring it up to Erosion on Thursday. And we're looking, I was looking for areas that were very easily accessible, that people can go to and use with very level, easy elevation, or somebody with limited mobilities, or, you know, somebody who had young kids could go there instead of walking up a mountain. Mine was kind of more along the lines, looking at the common sense, like Southington, Rocky Hill, Cromwell, what they had for a footprint. Currently, what we have at Bicentennial is kind of the same distance of a walk from the parking lot to where the unleashed area is. So
All right, we'll talk about it. I just don't understand why that wasn't looked at, so.
Is there a thought to do 2 separate ones? They're all dogs, any size, right?
first of all,
To do 2 separate ones, I'm sorry.
A small dog park and a large, like, I mean,
Oh,
A lot of towns have
you're actually
separate.
thinking
No,
about it?
no,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have not been given that, I have not been given that.
So can I ask a question about where you're thinking? Like, where the Morris properties, you walk in there and there's that green area right there, that, whatever you call fairway. That would actually be enclosed,
Right,
so there would be an actual gate
A
on it?
part of it, a part of it.
yep,
Part of it,
yep,
Right,
for around the acre.
yeah, right, right,
Yep.
because the right side is where the path is.
Yep.
So you would enclose by the path
Right.
and then leave the other
No,
side.
no.
No,
as you-
the path won't be included. in
No,
this.
so you walk in the path.
Yeah.
You go by the sand trap on your
Right,
left, so
yep.
now you're into an open field area.
That's correct.
It would go for like 3,600 square feet, right about an acre.
Yep.
Would be a fenced in area, completely 8 to 10 feet off of the path.
Got it.
That would not interfere with any pedestrian walking.
Understand.
You would have 2 access gates, so if you walked in the
Yep.
front, you could walk in the back.
Got
They would be self-latching where the gate would latch behind
Right,
you,
they
kind of like the
They wouldn't go down the path to get into the gate.
Right, okay, yeah, that's why.
That's what you're-
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
Personal soccer update.
Okay,
We,
you're
on a roll, we went out and did some geo boring, some soil analysis, and actually see what the sieve is and the layers of the off of the organic material of what is up there. There is no topsoil in that whole entire field. This is now this company came out and was like, there is absolutely no topsoil. So they're going to do a sieve analysis to see exactly how fast their water will dry through and what minerals are involved in it. And after they decide that, they will decide if they want to spend more time with a permeability of how long it takes water to filtrate through the current system that is there. We have a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday.
Yes.
We have a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday to see what we came back with for the soil analysis. What kind of organic matter is there? Is this material movable, reusable, non-usable? Do we want to migrate it and to bring some different material in to try to blend it to more of an organic topsoil matter? But right now, I can tell you, it's pretty much Kensington clay, blast rock, and well, I don't know what else.
Yeah, it is, it's mostly.
I mean, the field was built,
Maybe make that the dog park.
the field was built in 2000, we think 1990 or 2000. And when you start peeling back the layers of the sod, that they put sod together with plastic,
Yeah.
the plastic still has not rotted.
Wow.
So it's a mess. It's a nice inherited mess.
And plus you can't use the whole field, we actually downsize it, because on the outside of the forest, when they cut all the trees down, the trunks rotted underneath, so they were like swales. So we.
So could it be a dog park?
Huh?
So could it be a dog
We can't lose the soccer.
park?
No,
jeez.
no.
Donna said it, no one reacted, so I said, let me throw it back out.
Scheduling would kill
I
me.
mean, it would make a great splash pad. You guys want to put a playground?
Especially now that I'm doing scheduling, because Terry's not here, it's a nightmare.
I can get behind that. And that, you got to stay there.
State grant update, the only update is bids were open today for the architect. We had 5 bids come in. They range from about 59,000 to 84,000. So bid results will be posted on the website by now. Steve and I are going through every single package with a fine tooth comb to see if they met all the qualifications. The ones that met the qualifications, we will bring in for interviews and start moving forward on that. But it takes time to go through them.
This is for what?
This is for the architect for Biscoglio Field.
That's, so mine was the architect. The architect design for Percival.
Right.
Jen's is.
Architect design for Biscoglio.
So I also have a question. And somewhere here I read, so are we not, so we don't, I guess the issue is, we're gonna move forward on each of these things. It's maybe predicated on us being able to get the supplies we need on a timely basis to ensure that we can meet the deadline of each, right? So as far as we know, we're kind of on target for both Percival and
Biscoglio, we are well on target because construction isn't even estimated to start until June 2023. But Steve and I wanted to find our architect now so we can start planning that process. Because come the fall, we want to get into that soil and start doing.
Are they gonna be able to, so Biscoglio, they're gonna be able to get it done before the fall, or is it gonna?
No, it'll probably be down for the fall.
All right,
Okay.
make a motion.
We have a workable time.
Before we adjourn, we had talked last meeting, Donna, you weren't here, about canceling the July meeting. Myself and Steve can't be there, can't be here at all. I looked through the couple years' agendas, which is why I got the class of 2023, which is why I got the boosters, why I got all these things done. The two groups that come for banners, the boosters and Berlin Little League, I pushed them up to this meeting in hopes that no one should need anything approved in July. We can always do an emergency Zoom meeting on the week I'm back from vacation, but I'd like to suggest we cancel the July meeting if everyone's okay with
Anybody have
that.
an issue with Ken?
Nope, nope.
Okay,
I'm okay with it.
Enjoy.
that's it.
Not to make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you should stay long.
I'll second it.
Aye. Good meeting
Thank you,
tonight.
Joe.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
No one.
See you, Joe.
See you, Joe.
See,
Get everyone's name.
This is the stuff, yeah. This is good stuff. This is good stuff versus just